Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's February 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I'm real late getting this done. It's after 6 o'clock already. It's just been one of those days. So I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I wanted to show you the daily chart real quickly. You can see that we shot through the midline is this purple line, and we shot through that. And generally, you're going to pull back and test it. So it looks like we're trying to pull back and test it. And if we do and that holds, we can shoot another leg up quickly. If it doesn't hold, we could turn back down and test these lows. So we'll just have to see what happens. But it's looking, the fact that we shot through here and came back, we'll see if it holds or not. But that's what you would expect to happen on a midline. Prices will pull back. So even though this is our envelope bands, that still has that midline, which is the purple. We have a neutral band on there, and these are based off of not prices, but these are based off fib numbers. So just for a little more information on that, what we do with this is proprietary, so I don't really share that information out with you, but it's our envelope bands or envelope strategy for anybody that's interested, because I always get 100 questions about it, so I always try to explain what it is as well. So, but anyway, let's go over to the daily or the intraday chart, the 2000 tick one. Okay, here's our 2000 tick chart, and for the most part, this was a range day. We rallied really from late morning into the afternoon, and this afternoon, boom, it just sold off. That's a little concerning, but if we bounce again off that midline and go higher, then it doesn't matter anyway. But this pretty much nullified any gains we made today, and now into the overnight, we're really headed lower. So if we get a measured move down like that, we got a little ways to go yet. Let's see what that would look like. That gives us a price down here at 45.10. I'm not sure where that, and actually, I talked about that in the mid-morning chart. Notice when we broke out of this resistance here, we didn't come back and test it, and this would bring us right back to test that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that's not our target, and that's probably the midline on the daily chart. I believe it is around 45.10. So that would be a great target to shoot for. It's my guess that's where we're headed at a minimum. And so if that level holds, once we test it, we'll probably head higher again. So anyway, let's get to the trades here. You can see I've got a bunch of the measured moves marked in here for today. But there's a downward bias until right in here, and then we kind of switch to an upward bias. But overall, it's a flat, neutral kind of day. So you have to take all that into consideration. And really down until about here, you're thinking shorts mostly, but you still can trade this both ways. Not a lot of trades early on. Most of the trades were this afternoon on the rally. So again, let's zoom in here and talk about these trades and wrap this day up. And I'm going to move quickly again because it's late and I want to get this up for you. Plus, I'd like to get home before 8 o'clock anyway for a change. So anyway, coming in 7 o'clock hits right in here as we're moving down. You got this yellow channel. You get a close outside, a couple legs to a new low, and then we got a channel working up. And I don't see any trades I really like in here to go short. We're just kind of chopping sideways, still slightly down. I just don't see any setups. And then we reverse out here, but we don't get a reversal pattern, so you can't go long there. And then we're headed lower again. But now we got a channel working down. You make a new low, and you get a first entry, and you get a second entry. That entry is not good enough for a second entry alone because the signal bar doesn't qualify. It looks a little bit congested, but you can see where you would expect we're going to make another low here, and I didn't draw it, but you would expect we may try to make a measured leg down as well. And you can see we came up just a tad short on that. Actually, if I get that where it goes, yeah, you can see we did come up a few ticks or points short there. So Not by much, but you would expect a possible another leg down there. So this is basically a double top, so you're moving down. You get a first entry and a second entry. So that's a failed second entry long right there at the EMA, a double test of that EMA, and a second entry short. So because of the failure to the upside, this is a trap. So we don't really care what the signal bar looks like. If it breaks below there and you got room to scalp out before here, you're probably going to get a nice move out of it. And you can see it ran down to that point. So you would have already been out, and then it probably comes back and gets your runner. So probably no runner on that one, depending on how you played it. But drops on down, and then it looks like we're going to reverse. You get a first entry, you push through there, you get a second entry. As you see, the second entry actually triggered right here, but this was an engulfing bar, and because of the way this was setting up and the fact that we're still pretty much in a downtrend, I didn't like trying to trade a reversal yet. So I didn't mark that one. And if you'd have taken it, you'd have probably got burned. So, but notice you get a break, move to a new high, and now you pretty much got your break of the yellow and new high, and you got that big bearish bar that closes through the EMA. I like taking that one. It's basically a double top. It really looks like a triple test almost across there. There's resistance across there. So I like that one. It's a little bit aggressive because it's just a first entry short, but you can look at it as a break and a new high. You do get a lower high down here, but there's not a good setup, and then you actually get a trap. Notice you make this double bottom. You try to go short once right there. You may not can see that, but it breaks lower, and then it turns up and turns back down again. So if it breaks above this bar, you could treat that like a failed second entry short. This happened to all it's a little bit convoluted, but even if you count from here, it's a first entry, second entry. So it's a second entry long. It's a bit of a failed second entry short, although it's a little more advanced. So if you can't see that, don't worry about it. But if it breaks higher right there, you've probably got some shorts trapped, and look at that thing go. And you get a runner on that one. If you just caught that one trade, and that's a little, again, that the second entry's there. So if you just wrote it up till you get to close outside the first bar that closed outside the trend line, there's your 11 points almost. Easy and quick in just a few minutes in 8 bars and 2 minutes and 50 seconds on one contract. So that's the kind of moves you want to catch occasionally, and that's the thing that's going. There's a bunch of good runners lately. So, but anyway, you're running up. You get a little bit of an overshoot. It's hard to say, but to me that looks like an overshoot because this is right off those highs all the way down, and you can see it looks like an overshoot. We pushed on up. You get a first entry, you get a second entry, not very good. You're just kind of correcting here, and then it bounces. Now you would still expect prices to try to make a new high, but I don't see any setup here. I like to try to ride this back up. In fact, you get this low and you get a first entry and a second entry, and you're way away from the EMA, and look how bearish that bar is. And you already had your close. You had an overshoot, your close outside, and you still got 2 legs up to a new high, and then things rocketed down. So I don't know if this actually the crude oil didn't come out till 9:30. So I don't know why this kind of got a little crazy in here. Maybe something came out in the news. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but I still like this setup. And just to try to ride it back to the EMA. It's all you're looking for. And if you get anything else out of it, that's just gravy. And once again, you get a huge runner here. And if you just go down to the first bar that breaks higher, there's you another eight points or so. Very nice trading day. And then you try to go higher once, you try to go higher twice. You really kind of make a double top here, and that really looks like 2 legs back to the EMA. Even though you made a lower high here, that's still a 2-legged pullback. And the fact that it's a failed second entry long, if you see all that, take that trade. It's a little aggressive. You need to be a little more advanced. So if you don't see that, if you didn't see that, don't worry about that. It's definitely advanced. There's a lower high here, but too congested, too much support. You get another second entry right here. Of course, the signal bar is no good, and that's just congestion. Just stay out of that. We run down here and we break out to the and fail on the low side. That does make a double bottom. So if you wanted to be aggressive, you could take that big bullish bar. Look how much room's back to the EMA. You can almost guarantee prices are coming back there. It's really about timing. So if you, and this was a failed break lower, so you'd expect prices to come back anyway. Anytime you break out, actually the breakout was across right here. I had this line up higher before, so that's you figure the breakout's probably going to fail, and we're going to shoot back to test the resistance area, maybe the EMA. This thing just keeps going, and it pulls back. You only get a first entry, not a very good signal bar either. But again, I like that one just to try to ride it back to the EMA and to retest the breakout, which again, this line was up here at that point. You can see that there, but I moved it down here as we got more price action during the day. Is that where I had it before? Actually, I think I had it a little higher. I don't know. That's close enough. Run up, you just get a first entry, and then you get two legs up, and we're coming down again. This is another, that signal bar is not quite bearish. Look how nice that one looks. And this is bearish, but I just don't think it's good enough. I think you'd be, I mean, there's a lot of momentum there, and there are two legs up, and it's not quite measured yet. And for that reason, I don't think I'd take that trade. I'd wait. And you get a lower high here, but no setup. The signal bar is no good. You get a failure right here. But again, you got these bars with the stems and small bodies, and they're still making higher highs and higher lows. But you can see as soon as that broke lower, then you get sideways stuff. And so I just wait on that one because it's hard to know, and there's a lot of support down here. So just wait. And of course, it tries to go higher once, twice. But by the time this breaks lower, you're going sideways again, and that support's still holding across there. So I don't like anything to the downside here. And by the time you get down here, it's just too late, and there's no setups anyway. And again, you make a lower low, and you come up here and you make a first entry. You shoot through the EMA very strongly. You pull back, and you get a second entry, and when it breaks higher right there, it fails, and that's a quick scalp. And you can see here how this thing run up, and then this one opened and went straight on up. That's because it trapped, but once it ran the stops, it kind of ran out of momentum. And so that was based slowly on a trap, a reversal pattern. And your hope is that it's a reversal and it goes all the way, but you got to figure you're going to at least get a trap out of that one if it breaks higher right there. And you can see it doesn't look so great after the fact, but this thing closed here, opened right on its high, and kept going all the way up before it backed up. And it ended up pushing a little higher again. And of course, you get your close outside of this trend, two legs up. And that's another one that's tempting. And you do have your breakout side and two legs up. So if you took that one, I probably wouldn't have a problem. We could make it green, but I'd wait on the lower high and see if we get a reversal. And we actually get a reversal here, but it's just too congested, and there's too much support down here. Anyway, just I'd wait. And of course, you can see it didn't. You would have got a scalp out of it, but you can see it did exactly what you expected. Hit the support and turned up again. And notice what happens. You get a first entry, you push through the EMA, you pull back, you get a second entry. And if it breaks higher, you probably got them trapped again. And look how that rockets up. They love to trap people on those reversals. And again, this is advanced. And if you're just trying to learn the basics, don't worry about these kind of trades, because if you try to learn them all together, you just confuse yourself and it takes longer to learn it. These are you want to learn these organically. In other words, it builds on the basics. So learn the basics, and then eventually you won't even have to ask me why that's a reversal, because as you learn to read the chart and see all this stuff, it'll just come natural to you. So learn these organically. Don't try to study these along with the basics because you'll just slow yourself down. Runs up, and then we just kind of start working sideways. But notice here, um, you get really a double test, triple test here, and we pushed higher and pulled back, and look how bullish that bar is. I like taking that because you're probably going to make another leg up, and you got room to get out before the high there, really. And you probably wouldn't have, you probably would have got stopped out on your runner here unless you gave it a little more room. But if you caught a runner, there's a nice one there, but that's it. You'd had to give it a little more room, be a little more aggressive to get a runner there. But some people do that, so it just depends on you. But anyway, you got to close outside a new high, then you get a first entry long, second entry long that fails, but this doesn't set up. You don't want to be going short. When you're going sideways like that, you don't go short into the EMA from the other side of it like that. You'd want this to close down here, your signal bar, and then maybe you risk it. But you don't want to risk it right there. Even though it would have worked, you see it reverses, and that's why. You may not get a new low on this. You got this channel working down. You get a first entry, second entry, and I just don't like that sideways going short right into that EMA there. And you definitely didn't want to go long because you already had your break and new high here. And again, that looks a little congested. And you get a failed breakout. You push up. You get a pullback and on a higher low. And we're headed higher again. I like that one as a higher low, a breakout pullback. Let me just draw this. That's what that little channel looks like. Or little range, I'm sorry. And you get the break out the low side, you push up here, you pull back and bounce, and you close outside. If it breaks higher, they were probably going higher. And it takes it a minute, but look at it go. They start hitting the stops. And you get gains a little momentum, new buyers come in, and next thing you know, we're going higher. But you get a close, move to a new high, and you get a second attempt. This is another one. We're not quite back to the high, so I'm a little leery of entering here. But it is a first entry, and then it went higher and turned down again. So technically, it's a second entry. So you might enter that one. I'll mark it green. There's plenty of room back to the EMA. There's a lower high here. But again, look at the support across there, the EMA right there. Even though it works and goes lower, it does just what prices you expect here. It snaps back real quick. So, and sometimes it won't get the scalp before it snaps back. So you got to be real careful with a trade like that. It's very tempting. And then there is a failed second entry long here, but you're having to go short into the right at the EMA, and again right in the midline. I don't like it. It runs on down here. It's not a problem, but you don't know that ahead of time. This is one you might. Notice you got a break and a couple of legs down to a new low. This is one you might. These are much riskier trades, but if you're pretty good at understanding what's going on here, they're still high probability, but they're more risky. So instead of being 80 or 90%, they're like 60 or 70 that they'll work, which is much less odd. So you're taking a little more chance. But the thing is, you get a lot more reward for that risk. And you can see here, and this one's not great because this is not at the very lows, but you can see it still runs up there 10 or 11 points. And then if you just wait till you get the first bar outside that closes outside and a break below it, you still get 6 points almost right there. So these have some risk to them. What I probably would do was have my sell stop just a little bit in front of that. I doubt maybe down here would be a little more conservative. Normally I'd have it a little closer, but maybe you just as soon as it turns up and starts turning down, you exit that trade when it breaks below right there, because that's going to break outside anyway. But I don't like taking the reversal there, even though the channel's still good and you got room. There's just too much resistance right across there. You move back up here to the highs. Not a very good signal bar. You get a lower high here. Again, it's right into the midline. It would have worked, but I'm just not crazy about it. And then we come back down here and we bounce again right at those same lows. So now you you made your low here, you test it once, twice. It's a little spread out more than I like it, but you can clearly see the support across there. So, and that was the open from this morning, which is always an important price. And you can see we've been playing support and resistance on it both sides all day, all afternoon. And so when it bounces and gives you that, that's what rejection looks like off of a low. Look at that move. I like going long. There's still room back to the EMA, and this thing just keeps going. It pulls back. There's actually a failed second entry short here, and you might have even entered there because it's above the. But the problem is you go along here and there's not much room back to that resistance, and you see it turn down there. You don't know that it'll push through, so I don't like that one. I like entering here, but I'm not crazy about any of these others here. And then of course we go into this yellow channel, which is still a little bit flat, but you can see we're trending higher. And again, I don't see anything in here. I don't like going short here because that's congestion into the EMA. I don't think it's time to go long again yet because you're still thinking the range here. We may fail. So it does bounce off that range, but you want to see it clearly bounce off of it at least twice, and you don't get that. You actually bounce higher and then higher. So I like this trade. Notice you made the new low here, and you make a first entry and you make a second entry. So if it breaks higher here, that's a failed second entry short, but you also have a new swing high here and a first entry, and then you pull back and a second entry. So it's a second entry long, a failed second entry short, and we confirm the trend line here, and it's a higher low on top of that, and it's a fairly good signal bar. So I like that one, and that's a quick, easy move right up to the other side of the channel. That's what you want. And again, you probably get a runner here. And you get two legs back to the other side, and you don't get a very good setup, and then next thing you know it's 230 and there's a higher low, and now you've tested that once, twice, three times. I mean, what time was this? 2:33. You might take that trade. Anytime you start trading after 2:30 though, it's getting risky. But this is clearly a trend line. It's been clearly confirmed. Bounced here, bounced here, bounced here. Now you're bouncing again. And that's really a double top. But it's still, that looks more like two legs down. So you get a first entry, second entry. But you could look at that as a double top and get a first entry, second entry. It's high or low, even if you call that a first entry, second entry. That would be a third entry, but it's a high or low, and it's a triple test. And there's just lots of reasons to like that trade. If it was before 2:30, I'd marked it blue. So, and prices continue to trend on up until we got a break, move to a new high. It looks like we just barely got a new high there, which you can see, and then it was off to the races down. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so we'll wrap up our week tomorrow. I hope you had a good trading day today. Not a lot of trades for a period in here, but there were a couple of good ones with runners early, and then we had quite a few in the afternoon on the rally back up. So not the best trading day, but not the worst by any means. There were definitely some trades to be caught and taken today, and you might have to be patient. Like I said, between about 9 and 10:30, there's just not much in there. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you.